So if you would like to at any point raise your hand, and you can open your mic and open your camera if you like, but just know that the session is being recorded and will be shared out on social media and different platforms. So just be aware that it is being recorded. And what we're going to do today is we're going to start with some prepared questions that we have for the panelists to kind of get the conversation going. And we do have a lot of prepared questions for them to kind of help the conversation along. But at any time that you have questions, like I said, please feel free to post those in the chat, and we will get to a Q&A section where you can ask your questions directly if you like, but we'll make sure that you get all of your questions answered. If we have, depends on how many questions you have, I guess, if we can get to all of them, but we will do our very best. So what I'd like to do is just kind of kick it off with Kitty and Hector. Thank you both for taking your time today to speak with us, and just take a moment to introduce yourself. Tell us your name. What did you study in college? What was your undergraduate major, your current title at Medtronic, and just a little bit about your journey and how you got into your current role. So Kitty, can we start with you? Can you start sharing first?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Kitty. I am a principal software engineer here at Medtronic Diabetes. I went to school at University of California, Irvine, and my undergrad major was information and computer sciences. I was actually an intern at Medtronic, not in the diabetes. It was in the CRDM, which we do pacemaker there. And then after that, I like Medtronic a lot, and I gained experience from different company, and I decided to come back to be a software engineer here for Medtronic Diabetes. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Hector, take it away.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Hector Ochoa. I'm the Senior Software Engineer Manager here at Medtronic Diabetes. I actually work pretty close to Kitty, so we might be joking around here or there. My experience, actually, I went to DeVry University. I got my bachelor's degree in electronics engineering, a little bit different from what I'm doing today. But first job out of college was more of a mechanical engineering role out in Silicon Valley. This was 22 years ago already. So the whole Silicon Valley rush and thrill, I wanted it. I went out for it. It was more hype than reality for me. I ended up coming back to Southern California, where I ended up working at Medtronic, where I spent the last 21 years of my career mostly on doing technical role as a software test engineer, and more recently in the last 4 years as a people leader in the managerial space.
Thanks so much. I love hearing just the different journeys and where you can go. I worked with engineering students for many years, and I love hearing all of the different pathways and all the options. So thanks for kicking us off and sharing that. Could you both just take a moment to talk about what is your, and I know it would be probably hard to do to talk about a normal day, right? Like what's a normal day, but on a typical day that you have, what does your daily schedule look like? And if you need to just pick one, like maybe last Wednesday, what did last Wednesday look like? How much time did you spend working on projects, meeting in teams, answering emails? Like what did your day look like? Hector, do you want to start and we can go to
I can start. I see if my math is correct. About 70% is spent on meetings. We work with an offshore team, so a lot of the mornings we do a lot of coordination, a lot of debugging conversations, just trying to understand with our offshore team what the previous day conversations were, what our tasks were. The other 20% would be mostly doing schedule, resource planning, just project allocation. 9% I'm going to say is really teaching, training and one-on-ones. I have my team had just recently grown triple in size. So I have a lot of new hires, fresh out of college, a lot of ship members as well. Part of my day is also working with them, getting them onboarded, just trying to get them the basic skills and guidance that they'll need for their first year, and then kind of creating that career development plan for them. The last 1% I specifically left out because even though as a manager, I still enjoy a lot of the technical work. I'll find myself still trying to get in the trenches with my team, making sure that I'm dropping in on calls, not just to monitor. At the end of the day, I find it really still interesting to get in the technical work, even if it just means hearing them and observing them, or even just questioning some of the thought process. Whatever I can get involved in, I tried to do as well. Hopefully that added up to 100%.
Well, I didn't do the math as you were talking, but you were very precise. I love how much time you're spending training others and supporting others. That's amazing. What a great environment. Kitty, what is your typical day look like?
My day is a little different than Hector. I would say at least 50% of my day will be doing meetings, but these meetings include like status meeting or sync up meeting, even one-on-one with the engineers. So I am a technical lead for a team of juniors engineers, which we do a lot of the development for the firmware. So those meetings could be, some of the meetings could be when an engineer has an issue or, they just want to discuss a design, then I'll spend maybe like an hour or half an hour to an hour a day with them just to talk about the technical design, the technical details, and some of the, risks that we need to overcome. Other times it could be training new hires as well. So my team does have new hires and they're also fresh out of college. So I will spend time teaching them and training them how to set up the environment or how is the overall software architecture look like in the system or design that we've been working on. And then another part of my time mostly doing code reviews. So whenever a developer needs to do some development, they have to submit a code review. And then so during the code review process, I'll be putting comments on their code review and maybe talking about design. And then some of the part of my day will be actually doing development myself. Even though I'm a technical lead, I still want to work on, actual development because that's the things that I really enjoy doing, as well as, developing engineers and accelerate them.
Awesome. Sounds like both of you doing lots of good training and supporting others. That's wonderful. It's good to hear that you all are growing. Well, we're going to dig into more questions here, but I do just want to remind everybody that you can type your questions into the chat at any time now. So feel free, and I'll just kind of keep going with our planned questions until you guys have something that you want to talk about. So the next question I just want to talk about a little bit, and Hector, you had mentioned when we were talking about questions that you had something good that you wanted to share here. What was your first win that made you confident that you were really doing the right thing in your career?
When I saw that question, I was like, I have the perfect answer, at least perfect for me. It's one of those things where you kind of really find your place at your company or in your role. So very in the middle of my career as an engineer, technical engineer, I was working for the software test team. And at that time, we were doing a lot of manual testing. And that meant literally physical button pushing. Felt like I was watching an old episode of the Jetsons where he's just pushing a button. That's literally what we did. We would push buttons. We would kind of try to verify the user functionality from that perspective or the longevity of the pump. And, we started gravitating and hearing about what the industry was doing in automation, right? So there was a very early semi-automated testing that was happening and tools that were available to us. So being part of the team that kind of led and pioneered that, brought that to Medtronic or diabetes was kind of one of the biggest hurdles in my career as well, because it was one, after being a manual tester for so long and being so far from the computer science perspective, it was having to learn a coding language from the start again. And it wasn't C++, it wasn't, these common languages that I was learning at school at the time, it was JavaScript. So to just now saying here, we're going to automation and you got to go learn JavaScript on your own. It was a bit of an intimidation factor, but also kind of now looking back, a great learning experience, because you end up finding out that even though languages are so much different in names and maybe just variations, at the end of the day, they still hold a core common between them. So to me, that's one of the biggest wins, that we were able to then just take our old manual testing that used to take 4 or 5 months into just a matter of executing in weeks. So being able to be part of that team and being able to introduce this type of technology, and then now looking forward as to, okay, well, now that we've gotten this type of automation, is what else can we do? We have at Medtronic called an S&T program, where we get to now also show off a lot of this stuff that we do. So being part of those collaborations as well, being able to introduce what we call smart navigation. What this allows is it's a system that already understands what the path of a screen or UI flow should look like, rather than you trying to actually now tell the screen, go from here using X number of key presses. You just enter an API command that just automatically navigates the screen that you need to do. The other thing is model-based testing. That's kind of fairly new still to a lot of us here, but it's looking at it from the front end of it, is at the requirement level, is under modeling, creating the model of how the software should be done, and then testing against the software versus waiting for the back end of the software then to start doing a lot of our testing.
Wonderful. Kitty, do you have would you like to answer that question? Do you have something to share about that question, or would you like to tell us more about just how did you choose your career?
Yeah, I could do both. So it's funny on how I chose my career is that, so when I did go back to applying to college. So when I applied to college, my parents has always been into business, economy, and things like that. So I didn't want to follow the same path, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I actually closed my eyes and applied to college with different major for different school. Luckily, I got admitted to UC Irvine for computer sciences. So then it was something that I did not know about. So at the time, they start off with teaching us Java. And I remember the first day of school, I was asking someone next to me, why are they teaching about coffee in a computer science class? So that was my background going to computer science. Really had no background. And then when I keep, doing it, I start to like it. And then my first win moment was really, I get really excited when something works. And this is simple as I was trying to program something and make the mouse work wirelessly. And then just, it's just something so satisfying. And then you want to keep going and keep learning and keep improving yourself. And then the other second time that I feel like I'm really doing the right thing was my internship at Medtronic. I was actually working on the wireless pacemaker for Micro. And I was actually helping the biomedical engineers to figure out how the times works, wirelessly. And when that works, it was really a major win and satisfaction. And it's even knowing that right now it's being used in patient, it's just really awesome.
That's great to hear. That's a lot of the messages I heard from our interns this last summer too. Being at Medtronic and working on something that you see actually being used, that it's not just not just busy work, like there are projects that you can work on as an intern. And actually some of our participants have some questions related to that. So I'm gonna ask one of Jennifer's questions. Jump back to, you guys were talking about different languages that you use. What languages are being used the most right now in projects at Medtronics?
You
want to go ahead, Kitty?
Sure. I think it depends on which actually it depends on which department or which project you're working on at Medtronic. I don't think there's like a set in stone language that we use, but I am an embedded software engineer. So on my daily basis, I mostly use C and C++ and Python script. But I would imagine that, in other like cloud development or mobile app development, You will be doing like Kotlin, Darts, for or Objective-C or Swift, depending on what you do.
Yeah, and for my team, software testing, we use JavaScript for our testing scripts, but our automation tool still runs with a hybrid of JavaScript and C.
Her follow-up question to that was, are there certain languages that you're looking for prior knowledge in or be advantageous for them to know coming in as interns?
I think for interns, because I actually have multiple interns for the past few years, and we didn't really have expectation on what the interns know, but it's good to have interns who know C or Python just because that's what my teams do and that's what my team use. But in terms of even going through the interview process, for the technical coding process, we actually allow the intern to use whatever languages that they are comfortable in.
Yeah, and for tests as well, I mean, what language you must know to become an intern or to be an employee is not really relevant from a test perspective. We think that so long as you have the core foundation of any language, you can learn the other languages that we're using.
That's great to know. Very helpful information. How much technical experience, you were talking about the technical interview, how much technical experience are you looking for from interns?
Basic logic understanding. I mean, Kitty, you've been part of our interviews as well. She actually helps out when I interview, and I actually go to her to do my technical assessment. How much do you grill them, Kitty?
It's really the basic knowledge, if we're not even talking about specific languages when it comes to interviews. It also always start off with what programming languages are you comfortable in, and then we have some coding assessment, like it could simple as reverse a string or something like that. And then what I do is go through and really just understanding your thought process, like how do you design a problem? How do you do, are you a good problem solver? In terms of any other technical details, it was really just trying to understand what you've learned in school or if it is a good fit for us. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's important what you mentioned. It's mostly what we look for is, can you walk us through your coding, your thought process? And think of also the debugging aspect of your code, right? We know that we're not going to be always perfect, but being able to kind of create any safety breaks in between your own code is also important.
That is really helpful information. Thanks for going into that and sharing that. Let's talk a little bit about your careers at Medtronic. I'm going to get to Jennifer had another question kind of related to this, but I want to ask one more first before that. How did you choose Medtronic?
Do you want to go, Kitty? Again, I chose Medtronic randomly. It's funny because my whole career path has been just really just trying to understand and learn about what things are. So Medtronic was actually at the career fair in school, and I did not know what Medtronic was. And then I was able to, talk to the recruiter and understand what Medtronic was, and it was exciting. But then when I was told that you're gonna do a pacemaker, I was actually really concerned and worried at the time because I was pure computer science and did not have any, embedded system background. But I still give it a shot. And then, my mentors and my manager at the time were really nice, and they are, willing to teach me, all the designs and what should I do and guide me through the whole internship process. I actually did the internship for 1.5 years instead of just a summer. So then from then on, I really enjoy working at Medtronic. After my internship, I actually went through different companies to work on embedded system or try other development just to explore the options that I have. For example, even mobile app, Android development and things like that. But at the end of the day, I still come back to Medtronic just because I really like this Medtronic giving us a really good environment for, and I'm feeling rewarding and knowing that, it's patient first, and we always get to develop something that will to help someone live better.
Okay, so since Kitty's being honest about how she selected Medtronic, I guess I'll be honest too. I did not know much about Medtronic either before starting here. I actually started Medtronic as a contractor. So my first introduction to Medtronic was through a job agency. And this was right after leaving Silicon Valley. But you touched on something that was really important to me in my career as well, Kitty, is coming in here not knowing much about the company, but then quickly understanding the value that of the products that it brings to patients. And being in the diabetic department, seeing that very close to home, and how within my own family I had relatives who are diabetic, and now seeing this technology that's available and the impact it makes, getting to meet some of our patients as well as they come in and talk about their life experiences. It just kind of solidified the reason why I needed to stay at Medtronic. Again, you are the mentors, managers, and people that we've met along the years, some good, some bad, but then I think even those bad are there to kind of teach us and to remind us what we shouldn't be doing. But then the good are the ones that kind of make us to still want to come into work. I always talk about, the team that you surround yourself with. You spend so many hours of your day with them, you really do want to work with the team that you're confident and capable to actually want to go that extra mile with.
That's great to hear. And some very common messages, again, from what I've heard from interns and talking with them and debriefing their experiences. I want to dig a little bit deeper into some pieces that you both were kind of sharing about and ask, what is the culture like at Medtronic in terms of expectations, standards, support? What does that culture feel like to you? And thank you both for your transparency. It's very, very helpful.
Hector,
I probably can't answer this when I'm a manager. I will be biased and say no. We don't push more than we need to. But I guess all jokes aside, there is going to be times when we will have to meet deadlines with it. If from what I've heard, I can't say I experienced myself. Our culture in terms of expectations and standards are not as intense as other companies, no names, Google, Yahoo here, right? That are kind of pressuring and stressful working environments where I don't think we're at that level. But there are still going to be times when we will have to, put our feet on the ground and really get these strong pushes to get our deliverables out.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have experienced Medtronic as an intern as well as a full-time employee. As an intern, I get a lot of support from the mentor and supervisor and manager and other engineers to help you out. There is a deadline even as an intern. However, you do get a lot of support. As a full-time employee, I don't think that has changed. Except that, there will be more expectation, and, when you need to meet the deadline, you kind of have to push yourself as well to do so. However, I think, the technical leads and the managers understand when, there are something that it's preventing you from meeting the deadline. The key is communication. So even though, we do push for meeting the deadlines, however, if there are things that is blocking you, managers and technical leads are willing, and even program managers are willing to help out to resolve all those issues. So it's not only expectation of, meeting the criteria of your work, but also really supporting from everyone.
That's great to hear. Jennifer also asked another question that was something that we were planning to ask, but she phrased it a little bit differently. So I want to ask it the way she phrased it. What challenges do you face at Medtronic and how do you overcome them?
I can go if you want. Challenges are, I would say recently for me, it's probably the AOP planning and resources. We're always kind of asked to do more with little, right? But the rewarding part of that is that's kind of what kind of creates innovation, right? It starts making you think, okay, well, what is it that we're doing that we can always optimize and do more efficiently, or just make sure that more robust. So that's kind of been to me the challenge and reward, that even when we're faced with these type of asks, it always kind of inspires some level of innovation. Going back to the manual automation part, there was a clear challenge there that manual testing was taking a lot of resources and it was taking a lot of time that could be spent doing R&D, for example. So the drive and the reward would be to then introduce the tools like automation that then kind of move us into different directions and level thinking as well.
Yeah, for me, the challenges are mostly on recently it's because we are trying to design a new generation of with the new hardware, so that a lot of time it's really learning about the new hardware, learning about what the hardware could support, and then again going back to what Hector's saying, using our innovation to design and create the software to support the needs of patient. So a lot of the research, a lot about the learning, and the challenge is really just keep learning. I don't think that's different from school, because that's what we've been doing as a software engineer throughout the whole career. And then it's really just also as a technical lead to assign tasks to my team members and trying to also fit their interests as well.
It sounds like some of your challenges have definitely turned into rewards, but I want to ask the question specifically on the flip side. What are the rewarding aspects of your career at Medtronic?
I would say the rewarding is really well, not only knowing that things are being used on patient and you're helping other on a daily basis, but also as an engineer, you're also learning about different things every single day. And that's the part that I like the most about working here, is that you're not only stuck in doing one thing, but you're always learning about different things, and there's always something new that will come to you. And I really like that, because that also build up your career, build up your knowledge, and then you become a better engineer.
Yeah, and I was going to say the same thing. The rewarding also comes down to, and sometimes even the monetary, right? The career perspective of it. You are, able to learn and grow in your career aspirations. I can tell you from my own experiences, the different positions I've held through my career here has been because of a lot of the challenges and being able to overcome. And then my senior leaders also recognizing my abilities and allowed me to also grow in my career.
Wonderful. That's great to hear. We're going to jump into some advice for these undergrads here. Christina asked a question: what characteristics do successful and standout interns at Medtronic tend to have? What characteristics do successful and standout interns tend to have?
Okay, I guess I'll go.
Yeah, I was having connection issues here. I think my battery is about to die, so maybe you can do that while I get a power source. All right.
Well, usually the successful intern or the interns that stand out, they show the enthusiasm to learn, and they're not afraid to actually ask questions. So I have seen interns where they are, they're really shy and didn't really want to talk. And then, but there are also interns who are really encouraged and then try to ask questions as much as they want and then learn about it. Not only that, they are also willing to try something out on their own first before they raise the questions. Show me that you're not only relying on others, but you're also trying on your own. And you're willing to learn, willing to listen, and really just fit in the team. So you're not only it's that not only the technical aspect, but as well as how you fit into the team. Like you work well with others, not only with the technically, but also with other engineers. Some intern will have experience to actually work with other teams. And when I say other teams, I'm talking about not only the engineering team, but also like regulatories or what we call the CCD, which is customer centric development team. So those are some of the things that I see from interns who are successful, is to work well with other people and then willing to try and willing to learn.
That speaks so well to what I heard some of the interns talk about in our debriefing from this last summer. And they talked about one of the strongest pieces they got out of the experience was networking, and how willing people were to sit and talk with them and just share with them their input, their career stories, but just to network and get to know other people. And what you're talking about, I think, really reflects that, of just be willing to put yourself out there and meet people. Hector, did you have anything you wanted to share about the characteristics that you've seen successful and standout interns have?
I think it really has to do with behavioral. One of the things that I think, everyone's going to have the right skill when they interview or apply to a job, is how do you set yourself apart from someone else who also has the same skills you do, is really on the behavioral side. We talked earlier about culture, but I want to kind of reemphasize how important that is. Again, you're going to work with individuals day in and day out. You want to be able to make sure that you're working with a team that has those social skills, communication skills, or even be able to understand when a healthy challenge or debate is going to happen. So at least for my personal, when I try to build my team, and Kitty, you know this, I look for the behavioral as well. It's just as important as the technical skill. That's
great input, great advice. Again, another question kind of as we're planning and thinking about it, Hector, that you wanted to bring up, or are there any classes or extracurriculars that you would recommend that students do to help them stand out in the application process? Yeah, and just because we are a medical device company, I think embedded systems is our goal here. So embedded software is important. Any courses or trainings you can do on around embedded software is really important. I am a software test engineer manager, so I'm going to plug that in there as well. Anytime you can get knowledge on software testing, different testing techniques, testing approaches is also important. Even as a developer, if you don't move into the test role, being able to test your own code is also important, because you'd rather find out yourself firsthand whether your code is good, rather than putting it out there for review and having somebody kind of just destroy your code.
Yeah, to add to that, we as a software engineer or developer, we actually do write test code as well. So I want to emphasize that. On top of other activities, I would say try to do your own project, like a project on your own that is outside of school. That is something that you are interested in learning. So one thing that I did at the time when I was in school is to it was my friend's graduation, and he really wanted LED lights on his cap. So a group of my friends and myself just soldered 256 LED lights on his cap, and then we write programs so that when he walks, the LED lights is actually saying thank you, moms and dad and things like that. So it will be like simple as that. It doesn't have to be a huge project, but it could be like a simple side project that you could do it with your group of friends.
That's great advice. I've seen many students over the years do that, where they're doing side projects that have nothing to do with a course, but just showcasing the types of things that they're interested in, whether it's for a service learning project or just something that they're doing on the side for themselves. So definitely be ready to talk about those experiences and those behavioral interviews. This are some great things to talk about. What is one piece of advice that you wish that you would have received during your undergraduate career?
Oh, I'm going to take this one. Do an internship. Nobody told me about this back in my day. Internships are important. It does help you stand out from another candidate. That doesn't mean that if you don't do an internship that you won't be considered, but it already gets you a visibility into what a day-to-day life is, right? What are some of these tasks and the company's doing? And it helps you also kind of pick the right company, that you want to work for, or even organization within Medtronic. As Kitty, you mentioned, the cardiovascular, pacemaker, we have diabetes, different roles within Medtronic as well. The sooner you get into an internship, it gives you that insight. The other one is find a mentor. I've seen it now firsthand how important it is. I know Medtronic has pushed even more in the recent years, mentorship programs, but not just one mentor, multiple mentors, because you're going to have to find a style that fits for you, and you can probably create a hybrid out of all your mentors. So I think it's really important to start that mentorship very as soon as you can in your career.
Yeah, I want to piggyback that. And also for the internship, I think a lot of people were thinking they can only start an internship after they take some courses, or even only in their junior or senior years. It's not the case. You can actually start internship earlier. Like I've seen a lot of application interns that started when they're a sophomore, like just finished the freshman year. Another thing on the mentor, I just wanted to let you guys know that my mentor, actually, I met him when I was an intern at Medtronic. So I still talk to him and he still give me advice. In fact, he got me through a lot of the career decisions. And that was a good thing to have, because that there's always somebody professionals can help you and guide you through and give you advice on when you're kind of lost, and if you just want to have someone to talk to you about your career.
That's great. I'm a big proponent of mentoring. And one piece of the Medtronic internship experience is that you do get paired up with a Medtronic mentor to help you as you get ready to start your internship. So in the spring semester, getting ready to, the onboarding and just someone to ask questions to. So it's definitely a big part of this program. I do want to remind all the participants, if you have a question that you want to ask, you can raise your hand, unmute your microphone, you can type it in the chat. Thanks to Jennifer and Christina. Those have been amazing questions that I think have been really helpful. So anyone else? Do you have any other questions? I just want to give you a moment before I could ask all kinds of questions, but maybe you have other questions that you want answered. Arath is asking, how do you go about finding a mentor? How does that work for you?
I would start with your manager, and then they would probably be the best one to guide you to someone directly, either to the role you're working on, or maybe based on your career aspirations, kind of where the goal, the career you want or the role you want to get. That's kind of the advice I give my team, is first start within your own team, and then kind of start thinking about, or when you're ready to start thinking about, your next role is who is that? Is there a person in that role today that you already kind of are gravitating to as that's who I want to be, or I want to be like that person? That's usually around where you would start.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually started with a mentor, from my internship, and then throughout my career, because I have worked on different jobs, I actually have multiple mentors, and they are working in different fields. And I have, I have biomedical engineers as my mentor as well, even though I'm a software engineer. And then this is also within Medtronic as well. So, piggybacking what Hector is saying, that you will start off with your team, and then depending on, what you want to learn about, the manager will actually direct you and help you find a mentor.
Great advice. Are there any UI UX internship opportunities. And I'm going to have to defer and say, I don't even quite understand what that means, but I'm guessing that maybe Hector and Kitty do.
I don't know if there are, but I do know what the term means.
User interface. That's all I can think of, but that's probably not right.
Close. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think they do, but we will have to double check. We do have team that's actually specifically the CCD team that I was talking about. They specifically work with the UI UX team, which they because when our product is actually giving it to patient and they use it on a daily basis. So we do have UI UX designer that's specifically just focusing on doing that. But I think, Susan, we might have to go back and check if they have the internship there.
Yeah, and let me just take a minute to just explain. So there is another session that we did that was kind of a general overview of the whole application process that was done by one of the recruiters. And you can find that recording on the SHPE website, and I'll also include it in the follow-up email today with the recording from today as well. But just a little bit about how this is working. So you're going to apply through the SHPE application first. That is one application for everybody, and you're going to indicate, which major you are and things. If you make it to the first interview process, and through the second interview process, you are eventually going to go and apply on the Medtronic website. But what we're doing in that first application is just helping you in a smaller cohort get considered for a much larger cohort from Medtronic. So one of the things that we encourage you to do in that very first webinar was go ahead and go to the Medtronic website for the internships and start looking at all the different positions. I think there are like 18 or 19 different types of positions, because eventually you're going to choose one of those to go apply to through this process. And you can see the different experiences that you can have. You can also click on those and look at what are the preferred, or I think they call it nice to have skills. So if you're specifically interested in one type of experience, you will look at that and say, what do I need to make sure that my resume and my essay questions and my interview questions reflect, some of those nice to have skills as well. But I'll send all of that in the follow-up email, so you have the links and everything to those things. I don't recall seeing any specific UI or UX opportunities, but be a good question to ask. I have another question. It'd be great to know about the kinds of internship roles that Medtronic does have for software engineering interns. Front end, back end, cloud, question mark.
Yeah, I think that would go back to what you were saying. It sounds like going through the process of where to find those roles. Kitty and I could only talk about the roles we have or internships around software tests and software development.
Okay. Diego, I will make sure that you get that link so you can see those specific roles and examples of projects and things. So there's another question I wanted to ask. What is the most important thing you gained from your undergraduate degree that has really helped you as a professional at Medtronic?
Kitty, I'm too far disconnected from school to remember.
Does it feel too long ago?
It feels so long.
I think it's actually working with other students as a team. So during my undergrad, it was, there's a lot of projects and there were a lot of classes. A lot of time you do it individually, but there are some projects that you do as a team. I think that helps a long way because you will know how to, handle, working with others and handle unexpected situation, because there could be a case where when you try to schedule even a meeting with everyone, not everyone could show up, and then you need to kind of arrange that. And Hector, I'm sure that happens to you on a daily basis, because that happened to me, even these days. And then you're also, learn about how to do task assignment, or even just speak up on, this is what I want to do. So I think those are some of the experience that I think, from undergrad that is really helpful to where I am today, besides just the technical skill set that I learned. And also networking. So when I was an undergrad, I believe I went to a lot of the career fair, a lot of the workshops, even the clubs activity just to network with people, because I know some clubs will also have people from the industry just like us talking to you all, and really just networking, because in the field, and especially in our field, yeah, you always want to network with people.
Yeah, I don't think I can add any more to that. Great job, Kitty.
Thank you.
Well, I want to give another opportunity before we close out today. Does anyone participating have another question that you really wanted to get answered today? Well, we'll keep watching, but I guess for my last question for the panelists, was there anything else that was just kind of burning that you wanted to share? Anything as you're kind of talking that spurred another thought that doesn't really address one of the questions that we talked about, but just anything else that you would like to share for these candidates?
I probably want to come back to what do you really enjoy about your job kind of question there. It's really the learning. I know, Kitty, you brought that up, but I think that's been really important for me. 20 years here at Medtronic, I don't think I would have been here this long if I didn't feel like I was being challenged or learning something along the way.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the internship as well. So a lot of times when you look for internship, you're looking for specific things that you like to do. But for me, I actually did not know about Medtronic and did not know about Pacemaker. So it's good to explore different options, especially when you're still in school. So I would recommend, you look through, even though it's something that you're not so sure about, I would say still apply for the internship, because you never know what will come through your way. For me, it definitely came through a long way. If it wasn't the internship, I'm not sure if, I will be here talking to you guys today.
Yeah. And maybe to add to that as well, it's okay to have a career change. I think having that open dialogue with your manager, let them know what your, I guess 1 year, 2 year plan is today and where you see your career at. But then also being able to be honest with them and, when your career aspirations change, because they'll have firsthand insight as to opportunities or tasks that you can, work on to also satisfy that interest, and then kind of lead yourself into different career aspirations. I think that's kind of what happened for me as well. I never thought, out of college, I wanted to be a manager. I think it was the last thing I ever wanted to do. And here I am, and I'm embracing it because, as I grew in the technical role, and Kitty, you're there, you're at a principal level, you'll find yourself more people leading, and you find out that, now that gray area between, technical leader and people leader, right? And that's kind of where I saw my career transition that I felt I was really good at now this, and I talked with my manager and they were able to actually give me the opportunity to then make that career change as well.
Awesome. Well, I do want to tell all the participants, when you get the recording, you'll also get a PDF copy of these slides, which both of these link to their LinkedIn profiles. So if you'd like to connect with them and ask any other questions, but I did just want to share, oops, let me go back. I want to share this slide with you just to kind of remind you of like some of the next steps. So you've got the website there for the internship experience. And there's a couple of things I would really recommend that you do. If you have not yet watched that internship info session, that should be linked there on that website. I'll also send it in the email so you have the direct link. Watching that session gives you, again, an overview of the whole application process from the recruiter standpoint, answering some nitty-gritty detailed questions about that. You'll also see the schedule for any of the other career panels. I would encourage you to look at those. There is a very broad experience, so you could be working alongside on projects with other types of majors. So definitely check those out. And remember that the deadline to apply is 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, because that's what time I sit in. And that's what I will do on September 21st at 8 a.m. is go download all the applications. And that's when we'll start the review process. If you have any questions, feel free to email internship@ship.org. That comes directly to me and to Ashley on our team. And I believe Cassandra, and we can help answer your questions. You've got a QR code there that takes you to the Medtronic site for the recruitment information as well. So you got a lot of information there and a lot of, kind of next steps, but we're here to help you through that process. So at any point you have questions, feel free to reach out. And I just really want to thank Hector and Kitty for your time today. We're so grateful. I know you guys have a lot on your plate, so thank you for taking time to come today and share your journeys and your advice for these students.
Thank you, Susan, for the invite. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. We hope you have a great day.